Hello everybody. So today, we're going to be talking about performance enhancement drugs and the controversy over them. And this assignment is going to be for my English 2 college class. And yeah, so today we're going to be basically um, going in a podcast like environment. And previously to this, I wrote an essay that's about 12 pages long covering this, but I really don't want to bore y'all. But I will touch up on the different subjects that I did cover throughout this podcast. And, it was a good amount of stuff. Um, but yeah, one may think, like drugs, sports, like why are they together? Why are they, but there's plenty of reasons for that. As everyone may know, I myself, or y'all don't know this yet, but I myself was an athlete. I still consider myself an athlete. I ran in high school, cross country and track and field, and then junior year I got hurt. I was out for 6 months on crutches for 12 weeks, and when you're in a position where you're fit, you're in shape, and then, things you can't control like injury. I mean, you can control what you can do to prevent injury, but a lot of the times, to get you at the wrong time. And speaking of, injury and being out, a lot of the time these athletes that do get injured, their main motive for these performance enhancement drugs are so that they can get back to their sport. And a lot of these injuries that some of you, may hear of, whether that's a torn ACL, a meniscus or a labrum, or Tommy John. A lot of these players and athletes, they have millions and millions of dollars on the line. And so when you put into that perspective that as an athlete, your body is your work. So being out as an athlete, you're missing out on time and money, and and a lot of these athletes are in their 30s, early 20s, sometimes even older, 40s, and time is everything. And so, is there a valid excuse that uh, performance enhancement drugs may be the outlet, to recover muscles faster, to recover bones, broken bones, and a big example of this is one of UFC's fighters and face of the UFC, Conor McGregor. He several years ago was in the middle of a fight, and I'm about to show you right now. He was in the middle of a fight and ended up uh, having what looked like a compound fracture, and it wasn't from uh, anyone actually breaking his leg. He broke it on his own, and it was just a horrific accident. And then I'm about to show you what that accident looked like, and you're gonna see. I'll give you a warning, but the image is nasty. But I want you to pay attention to Conor McGregor's body afterwards. Okay. So in this image, Conor, he was in the middle of a fight, broke his leg, right? So this fight, highly anticipated fight against, I want to say it was, might have been Michael Chandler. Anyways, that's not important. What's important is the face of the MMA, right? Conor McGregor. He's out. Does the company lose money? Do they lose money? Do they gain money? Does he lose money? And you would think, oh yeah, he's gonna come back. He's gonna do this, do that. Well, to this day, I mean, he is set to fight in June, but to this day, he hasn't made a return, you know? And more importantly, I want to show you a picture. So this is Conor McGregor in 2015. This is Conor McGregor in 2017 while he's actively fighting. And this is Conor McGregor basically now. He's even bigger now. Uh, as you can see, he's a lot more swole, a lot more buff. And the crazy thing is, his injury, such as this one, only took a couple months to recover and before he was in full form. And so you see stuff like this, and it alerts you like, Well, if he had fully recovered already, why wasn't Conor McGregor back in fighting? And so that brings up the question, was he or is he still on performance enhancement drugs? And my guess is, I believe that Conor McGregor was definitely on a cycle given this injury to get to this point in one of his latest movies or whatever he did. And the reason why he is not fighting is because, one, he was definitely doping. Two, he was definitely scared to come back and have to drug test. Because these drug tests, yes, they may be present, but one, are they ethical? I think they're as ethical as they get, but these athletes are just a lot smarter and can find their way around it. And two, he did it so he doesn't get caught. So by the time Conor McGregor comes back and fights, he will no longer look like this. He will look a lot closer to this. And I think this is just one of many examples as to why uh, professional athletes are doping and taking performance enhancement drugs. It's to speed up the process. And while Conor McGregor is the face of the UFC, there's there's the standpoint that while he is the face of the UFC, there's a standpoint that, is it okay for Conor McGregor, the face of the UFC, to get away with this? Now let me tell you something. If there had been another athlete that no one really cared about, would it be ethical, or would people care, or would they not care if another athlete who did not have the outlet reach that he has on his fans and on the company, would other people care? So if a random person were to get injured, right, would that alert anyone? Would a random person who just got the same injury as Conor McGregor, would that alarm people? Would that call for drug tests, call for bans? And honestly, I don't think so. I I don't think that another person who would do the same thing that I believe Conor McGregor is doing, I think that they wouldn't get away with it. I honestly don't. I don't think Conor will get a slap on the wrist, but you know, but what I'm getting at is when there's millions of dollars on the line, um, a lot of athletes are willing to put their body through things they shouldn't be, such as performance enhancement drugs, to get back to where they were. Another topic I want to talk about is breaking news of a boxer. Breaking news of a boxer who just got caught 14 minutes ago. 14 minutes ago for testing positive for a banned substance on the weekend fight with Devin Haney. While it may not be completely confirmed yet, Ryan Garcia has been caught for testing positive for performance enhancement drugs. And if you're not into the sport of boxing, about a weekend or 2 weekends ago, Ryan Garcia was facing Devin Haney, who was 30-0. Ryan has been going crazy all over the social media, selling the fight, and if you look at pictures of Ryan versus Devin Haney, the size difference between the two was very noticeable. In this image, you can see that Devin Haney is knocked down. Ryan Garcia looks very muscular. Ryan Garcia ended up going into the fight 3 pounds over. He goes into the fight 3 pounds over, but mind you, because of these 3 pounds that he went over, he had to pay $500,000 to Devin Haney and his camp for each pound that he was over. As you can see in this image, Ryan Garcia pulls away with the victory as a plus 600 underdog. If you're not familiar with that, Danny was practically set to win this battle. He was set to win this fight, highly favorable, highly. I mean, he was. Everyone bet the house on Haney. So this is what I'm getting at. The money that was at stake, the money that was at stake for the two was millions of dollars. Millions of dollars, nearly perfect records from both fighters, and a lot of reputation. The reputation that was at hand was going into this fight. Ryan Garcia was imaged as crazy. He was off of some like I mean the people have spoken, and what you realize, and in boxing, it's one of the sports where, athletes do typically get paid more, but in a lot of other sports, athletes aren't getting paid as much as you think they're getting paid. So, with that being said, there's that controversy that if athletes aren't getting paid as much as they should, and the winners that do win do get paid, and with the small prize pool, are these athletes willing to do whatever it takes to come out victorious? And as you saw 14 minutes ago, there was breaking news that Ryan Garcia was caught with performance enhancement drugs. And, one may say, hey, I mean, it's not confirmed, but one may say, hey, when there's that much money on the line, there's a lot of reputation. Are athletes willing to do whatever it takes to get paid? And honestly, I don't think it's right. I do not think that an athlete should be taking performance enhancement drugs to gain a advantage when there's that much money on the line. I heard it was nearly record-breaking pay-per-views that were sold, so both fighters were pretty set off, but I think going to the extent of cheating and taking performance enhancement drugs, it's definitely not the way. And uh in one of the paragraphs that I had typed about was basically the payout. um One of the paragraphs that I had talked about was the payout per medals in uh, each country. And so what you notice is that in countries that are a lot less represented at the Olympic level, a lot of smaller countries, what you notice is that per medal, the payout is much more. So the payout for a gold medal in a country that is much smaller and underrepresented is, I want to say, nearly 10 times as much as the payout for a gold medal in the United States. If you are an athlete from the United States and you win a gold medal at the Olympics, your payout will not be the same as an athlete who is in a much smaller country. I mean, and it makes sense. It makes sense. And that's its country's own, payout. But what I'm getting at is, does that increase the likelihood of an athlete in a smaller country to dope? To take, I mean, in the Olympics, a lot of these athletes are taking erythropoietin, and what erythropoietin does is it increases the amount of red blood cells in the body. And what you see with a lot of distance runners is typically a good amount end up getting caught and getting caught with using erythropoietin. And this is for runners, this is like the holy grail of all drugs. And in countries that are much smaller, I don't want to name any countries out of respect, but in countries that are smaller, is the likelihood of a athlete to dope higher than an athlete in the United States? Or is it the inverse? Due to the low payout in the United States for a gold, bronze, silver, whatever order, does that low payout and low salary for those elite athletes give that athlete the right to do whatever it takes to make a living? And honestly, with that, you're just kind of on the edge. It depends where you stand. These athletes are putting their bodies through tremendous amount of stress. Don't get paid. A lot of them aren't sponsored, and only the top end of the top do get sponsored. And that leads to the next discussion. Athletes who are not sponsored, not funded, not the top of their game, does utilizing performance enhancement drugs paved the way for them to get to this point, to get the sponsorships, to get the equipment, to get the best coaches, to be located in great, safe cities that allow for training grounds that one may not typically get. And, you know, I don't think that doping is the right thing to do, but there's sides to both of it, and a lot of it has to do with your beliefs on, ethics. Are athletes, um, I mean, if it's their body, it's their choice. Are you on that side, or do you just want to respect the integrity of the game? And there's the defense that athletes should be allowed, or the committee should just allow, minimal doping and on an even playing field. But, what I've wrote about is there's troubles with that too, because just because everyone is doing it in a hypothetical world, the effects would just be the same. If runner A is faster than runner B, and they are both on performance enhancement drugs after this has already been recorded, will runner A just still be better than runner B? And in that case, it's not so much the athletes that take the toll from that, it's more of the fans who are invested in the integrity of the sport, the fans that invest their time, invest their money to go watch these, world-class athletes perform, and if everyone's doping, it just takes away from and some may say, well, back in the 80s they were doping harder than they are now. But, that was in the 80s, and I feel like we're in a different age, where we have technology that can get us where we need to be, and it's not in the drugs, in shoes. We have new shoes. We have new running shoes. Here, I will show you the new shoes. Uh, Here, we'll show you the new shoes. That's not a problem. Like, there's nothing wrong with these shoes. They are very expensive, but to the people that can get a hold of them, this is legal. There's other ways to combat the usage of drugs. This may improve your time, but I mean, it's an even playing field. You're not damaging your body, you're not risking your health. So why don't we just make get more ethical to just invest our time and into training well and into utilizing the technology and innovations that are being given to us. I want to show you another spike. um I want to show you the dragonfly. So what the dragonfly is right here. It's loading. So what this is a carbon fiber plated spike. And so what the spike does is it propels, you can see the plate here. It propels the runner to go forward, right? And this stuff is just things that are much more safer than taking a performance enhancement drug. As a runner, you're not risking your life because essentially, elite athletes are not lab rats, and from the medical standpoint, I feel as if doctors, that distribute or physicians that distribute these performance enhancement drugs, they can't just be testing these drugs on these athletes unethically. I feel like the distribution from a doctor to an athlete should not be the case. And in many cases, uh, there's doctors I'm sure that work under the table, 'cause these athletes, it's very hard to get a hold of this stuff, I feel like. But in reality, it's probably not as hard as I know. But yeah, there's just technology that can help an athlete, as you can see in this picture. Like, there's technology that can just help these athletes to train. In the shoes I showed you, there's more cushion to recover. So there's no need for an athlete to be doping. I feel as if like uh, if we're on an even playing field and multiple brands have made their own version of their innovative technology, Adidas has the same response to Nike. These athletes, say you're sponsored by Nike, sponsored by Adidas, you don't have an excuse. Not because the boys in Nike have carbon fiber plated shoes. I mean, we can't. Why can't we? Well, that excuse is out the window. Adidas, Asics, on, they all have their own carbon fiber plated shoes. They all have their super shoes. They all have the things that rule out the excuse to dope, you know? And yeah, that's just what I've wanted to talk about. As far as for the health of a runner, being on performance enhancement drugs, there's many side effects that come to it, whether that's heart health, um, bones, it messes up with everything, hormones, you know, um, one of the things I learned in class was, people who are on natural growth hormones, I believe there's a feedback loop in which a man who's taking steroids, their testicles, they start to shrivel up because the body is used to making its own, you know, uh, testosterone, right? And so when you're putting this synthetic testosterone inside of your body, uh, it's basically if you don't use it, you lose it. So the body knows that there's enough synthetic testosterone inside of the body to the point where your testicles aren't going to produce um what its own natural testosterone, and so you lose it. And there's just many negative effects of using growth hormones, performance enhancement drugs, and I feel like once we highlight that, there would no longer really be a controversy. Um, like I said, there's a lot of reasoning behind it. There's two sides, from a fan standpoint, it really just challenges the integrity of the sport. But from an athlete, by all means, they as elite athletes, they have, a house to pay for, they have maybe kids to feed, they have um, medical bills, a bunch of stuff, especially those that aren't really funded. But there's sides to each side. As a fan, you really don't want to see that happen. You see that the negative effects of health. But there's money on the line, and you can see it if you put yourself in an athlete's perspective that has dope. There's money on the line. There's fame, sponsorships. There's just a bunch of stuff that, I'm not saying it gives them every right, but that controversy over should doping, should we allow it under the supervision of a physician? Should we allow it for everyone, as I talked about? But like I said, to combat that argument, there's other ways to level out the playing field. And I think right now, what the committees are doing in various sports, I feel like the playing field is pretty even. I don't feel like there should be an excuse to dope. The prize pools change among countries, so if there's doping within a country to seek that, well, that's an athlete's own, you know, uh, that's on the athlete. And I mean, the most you can do right now is just uh, hope that everyone else is following the rules, valuing the integrity of their sport, um, and ultimately just competing. You know, I think the good thing about athletics is, until people get caught, but the good thing about athletics is you're really just testing the max amount of the body of what a human can do, and I feel like there's just beauty in that, whether it's in football, baseball, track. I mean, for me, I ran track, so I'm pretty biased as to what my favorite sport is. But yeah, that's besides the point. I just really wanted to cover over, the controversy, like why athletes do it. You know, I haven't been put in that position where, there's $1 million on the line, so it's really hard as a fan to really judge an athlete who may partake in, various forms of doping. But I mean, collectively, I feel like, I don't have a guest on here tonight, but collectively, I feel like um, there's just many cons than pros. The cons outweigh the pros, health, integrity, um, there's just many cons. And I wrote a long paragraph about this, but I'm not gonna read it to you. I don't want to bore you. I kind of just want to talk to you, talk to you all heart to heart about how I feel about this controversy and how I feel like eventually we're gonna get to the point where one, everyone's doing it, and there's that phenomenon. Well, if you're not doing it, you're behind, or do it until you get caught. But there's a lot of ways to counter that, stripping medals. I believe in 2012 in the Olympics in 2012, there was many Olympians who got their medals stripped. They got banned for life. A lot of them got banned for several years. And when you put yourself in that position, is this money right now going to take care of me for the rest of my life, or am I risking the chance of getting banned? And a lot of these elite level athletes, they really don't have backup plans. This is their all in, and so that just puts them in the position to, is it worth it? Like, is the chances of me getting caught going to affect the rest of my life? And it will. And I feel like that has a lot to do with what's going on, um, and why people make their, own decisions. And my roommate just walked in. Justice, what's your stance on doping? Do you think athletes have the right to dope at their own like will
To a certain
to a
extent.
certain extent? Do you have anything you want to say? I think me personally, I think that as a fan, I'm against it, but as an athlete, and when there's millions of dollars on the line and fame and sponsorships, I mean, if you put yourself in their position, you can see why, but like, how do you feel about it? You just do a quick response. It doesn't have to be nothing crazy.
Oh,
Are you against it, or do you think athletes have
I'm not completely against it, but I'm not like completely for it.
all right,
There need to be like restrictions.
that's valid.
Same with like NIL money. Those need
That's a
restrictions.
good conversation to talk about. But yeah, I just wanted to cover over that, and I'm gonna wrap this up, get it submitted. Thank you for watching, and see ya.